Hello everyone and welcome to Encore. Coming up. Stealing the spotlight at the world's top opera houses and in the pages of Vogue. It's no wonder that American soprano Nadine Sierra has been tipped as the new face of opera. At just 29, she's had her curtain call at the Met, La Scala, Berlin and Paris state operas. Nadine is breathing new life into the Paris opera season, starring in Cavalli's Elio-gabalo and Mozart's The Magic Flute. Following her breakout Met debut as Gilda in Rigoletto, she's now reprising the role here in Paris. Nadine Sierra, thank you very much for joining us on Encore. We've caught you in the middle of production of Verdi's Rigoletto here at Opera Bastille. It's not your first time in Gilda's shoes. You've played the role 8 or 9 times.
Yes.
Can you tell us what has the character brought to you and what do you bring to Gilda?
Well, Gilda was the first role, let's say the first big role that I ever tackled when I was quite young. I was 23 years old when I made the debut in the role. And in a way, she sort of introduced me to this career that I now have and that I'm now leading. She's a very special character to me because she's quite young, innocent, sort of fragile in a sense, but I really do view her as a young heroine in opera. And that's sort of what I want to be in a way in my own personal life, a heroine for young girls and young women aspiring to be strong and powerful.
Well, you're the Gilda on everybody's lips. Let's take a look at you in action in Rigoletto. Last year, you performed alongside Italian baritone Leonucci, who had the title role of Rigoletto at La Scala. That was your La Scala debut. Now, he's in his 70s to your 29 years. What was that dynamic like?
Incredible. Leonucci is, I would say, a legend in Italian opera, especially with this particular role, Rigoletto. I would say he is the Italian Rigoletto today. And working with him is amazing because he comes from a different genre of opera, a different generation of opera, that sort of old school golden age. And now this new generation coming in, was very interesting and it is very interesting to learn from him, from what came from the past and what I can take from that and bring it into the present day life of opera.
Well, you've got opera in your blood.
Yes.
Your maternal Portuguese grandmother, she had the gift too. Although she was discouraged of really realizing her full potential, they said that opera is not what good girls do. That was what her father would tell her.
Yes. He didn't want her to be in the entertainment industry because at that time being an actress or a dancer was not seen as appropriate, and he wanted her to be a housewife, to have children, stay at home. And I think she regretted that choice even for herself because opera was something she had always wanted to do. So I feel very privileged to be able to, I guess, lead the way in a path that she was never allowed to lead in.
You got your first big break at the tender age of 15 in a talent competition. Did the pieces all fall into place after that?
It did. I mean, it did fall into place, but I also had and I still have very supportive parents who, no matter what I accomplished or what I didn't accomplish, they were always there to see that I was reaching my goals and dreams as best as I could by putting me in different competitions and even training programs during the summer. But yes, it definitely did launch me into what it was to be a young, aspiring opera singer.
Was it a case of opera or nothing? Was there ever another career path that you considered taking?
Never. And I'm really happy that it's always been that way because opera, in a way, ever since I was a child, I've had this love affair with opera, and I do love that that love affair keeps growing as I get older. It's something that is totally a part of my life, and I really couldn't imagine myself without it.
Well, you always had your eye on the prize, and you've had your fair share of triumphs at competitions. You're the youngest winner of the Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions. Is that a different kind of performance when you're gearing up to participate in a competition?
Absolutely, because competitions come with a lot of pressure. And knowing that you have, let's say, a panel of 10 to 12 judges judging every single note that comes out of your mouth, it can be a little bit stressful. But I always went into competitions thinking, I'm not going to have any expectations. Whatever the judges want to give me or not want to give me, I will accept it. My sole purpose in this competition is just to perform and enjoy, which thankfully I was always able to do.
Well, let's take a look at one of those winning performances. What an incredible performer, Nadine. Tell me, how much of what you do is natural talent and how much of it is hard work?
Oh my goodness. I would say 90% of it is hard work. And the other percentage is natural. But I don't know. I've always found that when you enjoy your work so much, it isn't really work at the end of the day. It's just something that you live and breathe very naturally. So even though I've put a tremendous amount of work in what I do, I've genuinely really enjoyed it.
Would you say that you've found your voice, or is it still a work in progress?
It is. It will always be a work in progress. Because I'm 29 years old, I would say in a way my career is sort of rare in the opera industry because I am relatively younger than the rest of my colleagues. So I have many years now to grow into a better singer, but also more importantly, a better overall artist. But there's always something to learn, which is also something I love about opera because it never feels stagnant or boring.
Would you mind showing us how your magnificent instrument, your beautiful voice works?
Of course. Okay. So this is from Rigoletto. This is part of Gilda's aria Caro nome. Caro nome che il mio cor festi primo palpitar.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you very much, Nadine. I have goosebumps. The energy around your voice is just something indescribable. It's no wonder that you've been front and center at the Met, La Scala, Berlin and Paris state operas. I mean, you performed at really some of the world's top opera houses at a very young age. What would you say has been the pinnacle of your career thus far?
I would say the pinnacle was definitely my debut at La Scala. When I was a child, I of course, had always aspired to sing at the Met, Paris Opera, etc. But for me, Italian opera was La Scala, with the history and the traditions that La Scala carries for opera. It was the place I had always wanted to perform. And also La Scala is known for having a very brutal sort of audience. So being accepted at La Scala by the audience is quite a big deal. So my whole experience there was just mind-blowing and definitely a big dream come true.
Now, you're a picture of perfection, but I've always wondered, I mean, what do opera singers do if there is a flub on stage? How do you cover that up? How do you work with that?
Well, it's definitely teamwork. It's very good to have a great ensemble on stage so that when something does happen, we can together sort of figure it out. But, you know, oftentimes not a lot of mistakes happen on stage. We're usually able to figure our way through whatever obstacle comes on the stage.
Well, you're going to be participating in the Bastille Day performances looking ahead. July 14th, you're going to be taking part in a concert near the Eiffel Tower. Can you let us in on what's going to be happening there? We haven't heard too much about this yet.
Well, it's going to be a televised live concert coming from the Eiffel Tower. A few of my colleagues who are also opera singers and myself will be performing with wonderful orchestra and Maestro Gergiev. And we will be performing different selections from different operas, such as, let's say, various arias to duets to ensembles, just to give the audience a taste of what grand opera is all about.
Well, we'll have to keep an ear out for that show. That'll be a hot ticket on Bastille Day. So we're coming to the end of the show, Nadine, but we can't leave without your cultural pick. And I hear that you have a favourite museum here in Paris.
I do. I've actually been to this museum maybe 6 or 7 times because of friends and families visiting me out of town, and it's Musée d'Orsay. I'm a very big fan of it because I love Monet, Manet, Renoir is my absolute favorite. So it's always something I try to do when I come to Paris.
Well, if you have a little bit of time, Nadine and everyone else who's watching, Portraits of Cézanne is showing at Musée d'Orsay until September 24th. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us, Nadine. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. If you're in Paris, you can catch Nadine as Gilda in Rigoletto until June 27th. Do connect with us online where you can catch this show and others. That's France24.com. Do stay tuned. We're going to leave you with these images of Portraits of Cézanne. Take a look.
Revisited, presented by Stuart Norval.
Kosovo, once a part of the former Yugoslavia, has been independent since 2008 when it split from neighboring Serbia. Most Kosovars are ethnic Albanians, but for the Serbs, Kosovo is the cradle of their civilization. And the Serbian minority in the north of the country refuses to recognize the government. Memories of the vicious conflict pitting Serbs against Albanian separatists remain deeply ingrained. A third of Kosovo's population is under 15 years old. Perhaps its youth will finally break the cycle of communitarian hatred.
Revisited on France 24 and France24.com.